Picture this. You're in a damp, silent cave, a place of mystery, of shadow. Now, what if I told you that inside that cave is a 500-year-old art puzzle created by one of the greatest minds in history, Leonardo da Vinci? Well, today, we're stepping right into that cave to unravel the mystery of a masterpiece and the incredible conflict behind it.
And that right there is the big question, isn't it? It's a real enigma that has had art historians scratching their heads for centuries. So think of this as a detective story. We're going to follow the clues, artistic, legal, and even scientific, to piece this whole thing together.
Okay, let's dive right in. At the heart of this whole mystery are two paintings that are, well, almost identical. One of them is hanging in the Louvre Museum in Paris, and the other is in London's National Gallery. Same scene, same rocky cave, but a totally different story behind each one. At first glance, you'd swear they were twins. The composition, the figures, the whole vibe, it's all there. But you know how it is with any good mystery. It's all in the details. And those small, subtle differences between these two are going to be our key to unlocking a wild story of genius, money, and a whole lot of drama. All right, to really get why there are two of these things, we've got to rewind the clock way back. The year is 1483. The city is Milan, and a religious group, the Confraternity of the Immaculate Conception, needs a seriously impressive altarpiece for their chapel. They hire a team, and on that team is a brilliant, up-and-coming artist new to town, Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay, look at this timeline. What should just jump out at you is this massive 25-year gap between when they started and when the thing was finally installed. I mean, a quarter of a century. That massive delay is where a simple art project completely spiraled. And that, my friends, is the real core of our mystery.
So, what on earth happened during those 25 years? Long story short, a fight. A really long, drawn-out legal and financial battle. It basically turned into this classic showdown between an artist who knew his work was priceless and a client who, well, had a budget. And honestly, you can totally see where Leonardo is coming from. He wasn't just throwing paint on a panel here. This guy was a perfectionist, an innovator, every single detail, from that soft, smoky Sfumato effect, that's his famous technique for blending colors so they look kind of hazy and dreamlike, to the shine on this tiny little clasp. It was all proof of his genius. He knew he'd made a masterpiece. And this document, this is the smoking gun. This is where Leonardo and his partners basically put their foot down. They told the confraternity, look, pay us what this thing is really worth, or we're just going to sell it to someone who will. This was their power play, and it kicked off a fight that would drag on for decades. Okay, so now let's get to the good stuff. The best evidence we have comes from the paintings themselves. We're going to put these two canvases side by side under the microscope because, believe it or not, the whole story of this feud is literally painted right there for us to see.
All right, the first thing most people notice, the most famous difference, is this right here. In the original painting, the one in the Louvre, the angel is pointing directly at St. John the Baptist. It's this bold, kind of mysterious gesture, right? It pulls you in. But then you look at the London version, and poof, the hand is down, the gesture is gone, the whole scene feels a little safer, a little less dramatic.
And it's not just the pointing finger. This chart breaks down the other key changes. The London version adds all these traditional religious symbols that were missing from the first one. Suddenly there are halos. John the Baptist is holding his cross. You start to get the feeling that these are basically edits, you know? Changes made to make a client happy, someone who wanted something a little less radical.
So the artistic changes are a huge clue, for sure. But the real bombshell evidence, the stuff that really casts doubt on Leonardo painting that second version all by himself, comes from his other great passion, science. His deep, deep knowledge of the natural world leaves clues that are almost invisible if you don't know what to look for.
Let's start with the plants, the botany. In the Louvre painting, every single plant is spot on. Scientifically speaking, botanists can identify every one, but the London version, it's full of what experts literally call invented plants and other weird botanical errors. For a guy like Leonardo, who is obsessed with observing nature, that is a massive red flag. And it's the exact same story with the rocks. A geologist actually called the Louvre painting a geological tour de force. It's that accurate. The London one, though, it's a geological fantasy. The rocks don't make sense, the formations are impossible. It really seems like whoever painted this landscape didn't have Leonardo's scientific eye.
So what does this all add up to? You've got the legal documents, the artistic changes, the weird science. When you lay all those clues out on the table, a pretty clear story starts to take shape.
Okay, so here's the theory that most historians agree on. Leonardo finishes his first incredible masterpiece. A big fight over money breaks out. So during the dispute, he takes his original, way more radical painting and sells it to a private collector who actually gets it and is willing to pay for it. Years later, to finally put this 25-year-old contract to bed, a second version gets made, likely with a lot of help from his workshop that's more traditional and finally gives the client what they want.
You see this whole saga, the art, the science, the legal fights, it gives us so much more than just a couple of beautiful paintings. It really peels back the curtain on the real guy behind the legend.
Because what this whole mystery really shows us is that Leonardo wasn't just some artist living in an ivory tower, you know? It shows us all his different sides: the obsessed scientist, the revolutionary artist, the proud professional who knew what his work was worth, and even the practical businessman who knew when to let his assistants take over.
And that's why, when you look back at the original, the Louvre version, you can just see all of it. You see the scientist in the rocks and the flowers. You see the artistic revolutionary and that smoky light and those mysterious gestures. And you absolutely see the confidence of a master who is at the very top of his game.
So, artist, scientist, businessman? Which one was the real Leonardo? Well, I think the answer this whole 25-year story gives us is he was never just one of those things. He was all of them. A true Renaissance man. And it's that complexity that makes him and this incredible work of art so fascinating to keep exploring even 500 years later. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, share and like our videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources. Thank you.